Welcome! I'm CocoKane from Tavern TCG, bringing you another match from our tournament weekend. This one is Blazer Knight versus Arla Regalia. We're going to dive right in and see what we got going on. So far, we have two very good decks that we have seen running very recently. One in the more consistent Blazer Knight, obviously more popular, more people run it, and the explosive Arla Regalia. It is a version of the 28 Regalia deck, obviously his own version, and the Arla gives the flying aspect a nice explosion when you do get that going. Unfortunately, just like most Regalia decks, once the ruler dies, it kind of falls on its face. So we're going to figure out if this Arla deck is going to be able to take her things to the sky over these Blazer Knights. Blazer Knights can be very super consistent because the Blazer makes that red be able to come out of every single stone, so you're not required to play so many double stones. Unless, of course, you're more worried about being an aggressive Blazer flipper, then you probably want to play your mana base correctly. Also, with the Blazer consistency, even if you call white stones in your very early game, you're still able to play your red spells, which is very good, because I noticed before Blazer ever came out, my Faria fell on her face a lot of the times when I didn't get the consistent colors I needed. Turn 1 for the Knights, turn 1 for the Regalia deck, played a Maribel, then passed, and turn 1 for the Knights plays a Percival, revealing the top 5. And that's a beautiful display of just so many things you can choose other than Guinevere. I think that's double Gwaine and a Galahad and a Lancelot. Either way, that's a lot of choices. No, it's another Percival. And that's what he's going to take. He wants to see another Percival. So he's going to take that up, scoot the rest to the bottom, and then I believe he will pass turn. And I apologize about the glare, folks. We had the camera set up at a slight angle, and not every card has the perfect reflection off of it, so I will do my best to let you guys know the cards. The ruler on the left side is Blazer Gil Rabus, not flipped, and the stone above it is a basic light stone. Player 2 calls and plays a bow, gets 4 counters because of Arla, checks out his hand and passes turn. Luckily, these games tend to go pretty quickly because they are fast-paced decks. He calls a stone, and that's an Almerius, the levitating stone. He can give his resonators or his J-ruler flying. Tapping 2, and calling out a Lancelot. And this right here is exactly what I was talking about. Early game with a Faria deck or an Arla deck of this proportion, you wouldn't be able to play that turn 2 Lancelot because of your 2 white stones. But he's able to bust out a turn 2 Lancelot because of Blazer. He swings in aggressively, and he gets bowed. Loses 2 counters to go, loses a counter to bow, and then thunders. In response to the thunder, our player banishes the Percival to give the Lancelot protection. After accepting damage from the bow, and then he responds with another thunder on top. So that pretty much clears up our board. He drops his own bow, 2 counters, no Arla, says go. You gotta make calculating decisions in the Arla Regalia deck, or in any Regalia deck for that matter, because any crucial mistake is like early Baja Blast. A crucial mistake in calculation of when to strike could be the game for you. So our player wants to make sure to take his time. Calls a stone instead of an aggressive flip. Although I don't believe he could flip because he has a single Firestone and a Heat Ray before that. Plays Percival. Reveals the top 5. A Demon Flame, 2 Gareth, a bow, and a, Leviathan. He grabs another bow. and puts it on the field, giving him 4 counters. We don't see that often because we do see the bow played in a lot of decks. I'm just used to seeing 2 counters placed on the bow, which is why I'm stating 4 counters. We see the bows in most decks these days because of the good control that it offers, but with every other ruler you only get 2 counters. With Arla you get 4, and that is the advantage of using Arla in this build over Kane or Melgus, is that bow action is to the fore, and when you do flippers she can fly. He can fly, excuse me. I'm still wondering about the gender. It is a lord. I'm going to play another Percival and reveal the top 5. I see a Death Scythe, a Hector, another Percival, a Gawain, and I could not see the first card. Being a Blazer Knights player, you really have to take that Percival decision very carefully because you usually do reveal more than one thing that you can take. Even a Regalia deck as well, sometimes you reveal more than one Regalia, and that the Percival decision is crucial because you tuck the rest on the bottom, and if you have no way to shuffle your deck, you're not going to see those cards for a while. Pays 2, puts the Gawain that he picked up, and passes turn. I expected to see more of an aggressive swing there with that Percival because he was buffer, but we did not. Now he forgot to recover his ruler here, even though he means to. He recovered all of his stones and recovered everything else, but he's going to J-activate here, and it confuses his opponent for a second because he did have his ruler tapped. He did not recover it, and he should have. He needs to do that before J-activation, but J-activates his Arla. There's no angels to search, so he doesn't waste his time, although I do believe he's still supposed to shuffle his deck. Taps into the Leviathan that he just played and activates, and swings in for 11. And this is what I'm talking about, where Arla flips and has flying. Even though the opponent has board presence, he really has no choice but to take that 11. And they do not mark it on our tablet here at the bottom of the screen for a little while. They will catch up and mark their life totals at the time when they do realize it, but for now they are keeping their life totals to the side. The opposing player is at, player 1 is at 29, player 2 is still at 40. Full recovery from our Blazer player. Drops the Death Scythe, which is bad news for Arla. That makes the Leviathan's imperishable ability completely niet. So he's going to respond and use his Regalia of Maribel to destroy the Scythe and save his Arla. But here we see our Blazer Knight player checking his card. Another context of the Regalia that most people tend to forget, as well as myself. I forgot in the tournament at this point that you can exile 3 cards from your graveyard to bring that Scythe back to your hand. So he's going to cast a Thunder straight to the face of the player, just to put enough cards in the graveyard. And this is where they realize they haven't changed the life at all. And player 1 will correct his life to 29. And player 2 will take the 5 of Thunder. And I guess he took 3 somewhere else. Or 7 somewhere else? 8, apparently. Now he pulls the Scythe back to his hand. And J-activates his Blazer to destroy Arla. And when you're a Regalia deck, this is the position you do not want to find yourself in, because there's no way out of a Blazer Death Scythe. First he wipes her, then he kills her, and he cannot gain imperishable because of the Leviathan, so she goes astral. He goes astral. I apologize about the gender confusion. This game does that to me. Confusing me with all these female Percivals and engulfing our males and females. Player 1 drops a Lancelot. With that Gwaine out, that Lancelot is an 800. Swings in for 4. And he uses a bow. And I don't know why the player did not respond and banish to prevent damage to any of his other knights in response, since he was losing his Percival. But he swings in with Lancelot at an 800. And he blocks with Percival, and then he bows, so the damage goes through. And player 1 passes. Arla's going to do her best to defend herself, because when a Regalia deck usually loses their ruler, they don't have much gas other than that. We see him shuffling his hand, trying to figure out what move he's going to make at this point. He wants to go down swinging, like any player with good dignity. Don't just scoop, play it out. You never know. Many a games I have clung on to dear life towards the end. Looked like I was going to lose, even in situations like this where it looks very dire for one player, and came out on top. Here comes a Maribel, and he ditches the Leviathan to use Maribel to blow up his bow. And that's about all he's got, so he passes turn. We see recovery from Blazer. Calculating out some damage here. Plays another Lancelot, and swings in with the first. Waiting for a response from a player. And I think he figured that he knew. I think that bow was just used. It should still be rested, but he did have the other bow. But that's still enough damage to complete the rest of his damage, and they're going to go ahead and go to game 2. Alrighty, looking at game 2. This time Arla will get another chance to go first. Hopefully this time will go better for her. Deathside shut her down. And we're going to see if Blazer will be just as consistent as we've always seen Blazer be. Here are the cuts. Now sometimes after ruler reveal, or excuse me, after sideboard, the rulers do change, which is why the ruler reveal sometimes makes a big deal. But in this game, we do not see any change in rulers. Arla will come back, and Blazer will come back. So we're going to see another matchup just like we saw the first one, hopefully with better play from Arla. Choosing to put back 1 for Mulligan. also putting back one on the other side. Here comes ruler reveal, and surprise surprise, Blazer and Arla. Arla calls. First turn Almerius the Levitating Stone. Sometimes is a bad move, not necessarily a bad move, excuse me, a bad pull from your first stone, unless you have a turn 1 white. He does not. He just plays his bow with 4 counters and passes turn. Calls a stone, gets that shiny first print heat ray. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of getting first prints, especially liking the way that foil shines on a lot of the older first prints. Crimson Moon and Two Towers first prints are just gorgeous, especially on Mephistopheles, some of those cards that see a lot of play. Uses his turn 1 to play Guinevere, and drops a bow of his own with 2 counters, and passes turn. We don't see such an aggressive board state from Blazer as we did last time, although this is only turn 1, turn 2. Using 1 to play Percival, reveals the top 5. Multiple Regalia to choose from. Like I said before, decisions when it comes to decks like these. You get to reveal multiple cards and all of them are the options. Not just a simple 1 or 2 cards. More often than not. He's discussing whether he put the Percival in this turn, and I believe he's just remembering if he did or not, because he cannot go for such an aggressive swing. So he's going to just drop his Maribel and pass. Now this is the part of Blazers we usually start seeing the aggression come out. He gets his Almerius, the Levitating Stone. And because of that ability to cast red off of any stone, that's just deadly with having 2 possible red will or 2 possible white will. And he uses them to play Lancelot and come in swinging. He takes the swing from Lancelot. And passes turn to other player. We see recovery. And he's deciding whether he wants to go with an aggressive J activation, because against the Blazer deck, you are worrying facing the Death Scythe Blazer Flip, which effectively ends the deck of an aggressive J Ruler. And he decides to go for it. Calling the will, flipping, no angel to search for. Leviathan drops, giving her haste. him haste. To me, guys, Arla's a girl. I'm sorry, very feminine. I'm just I'm sorry. I see Angel. I'm like Arla. And he takes the 11, just like we expected to see, because he has no flying. And this is the part where you really have to hold on to your seat if you're the Arla player. If the opponent has a Death Scythe, you are effectively shut down. You do not have your one will open to use your Maribel to kill it. Now, let's say the Arla player happens to have another Leviathan in hand. That would be amazing, because another Leviathan in hand you could discard to the grave using Maribel to destroy any Death Scythe you see, assuming you don't see a double Death Scythe, and you would not necessarily lose. You'd have another turn to come at them. He uses the Gwen to eat itself before the end of before recovery phase. Draws and discards. Then recovers. He's hoping to dig into that scythe. And there we see it. Death Scythe goes down. Arla player hangs his head. No will open to use the Maribel that he has on board. Flips the Blazer, targeting Arla with both abilities, forcing her to go Astral. The unfortunate thing with an Astral Ruler is when you use cards that have to do with the ruler or J-Ruler being the certain name, it no longer applies. Your ruler is now an Astral Ruler, therefore cards that target a ruler or J-Ruler cannot target it. Which kind of makes a difference when you're an Arla player and you die, you cannot play bow and get 4 counters. Which we are going to see later on. Plays a Percival and reveals the top, pulls his Regalia, pays 1, he's super hesitant if he wants to put another Percival on board or if he wants to play Hector to bump up the Lancelot, and he goes ahead and plays Hector, targeting his Lancelot. Now when Hector comes into play, it gives +4/+4 to a Resonator, and when Lancelot's attack is over 1,000, he can shoot another Resonator for 700 when he attacks. And Hector comes in for 1 colorless when you control Lancelot. So he doesn't have to pay the red, he only pays the void, and she comes in, gives the Lancelot 1,000, Lancelot swings, targeting the Percival for 700. It should have targeted the Percival for 700. Shooting that Percival out of the way. Calls. Sees the Moonshade. Two. Okay, this is a very great move that I want to point out. He uses 1 to give the Blazer flying, uses 1 with White Will to use his Almeris to give the Blazer flying, and then uses all 4 counters on his bow that's been in play to destroy target J-Ruler with flying. Very kudos to our player. That was a very brilliant move on his part. I did not see that coming, and it's very out-of-the-box thinking. A move I'm definitely going to try to use if I ever do decide to use an Arla bow. Therefore, now we have 2 Astral Rulers. The only downside is, when you're playing a Regalia deck, you don't really have a lot of Resonator presence in your deck, and the opposing player does have a lot of Resonators to fall back onto. So we already see a decent dominating board from our Blazer player, and not so much from our Regalia player. So even though he did manage to take out the Blazer, which was the immediate threat, he may still not come out of this game on top. Blazer calls a stone, since both of our rulers are only good for calling stones at this point. And now, the downside to him is all of his stones that were red do not count for red. He only has white, the Heat Ray, and Malmerius. So he has one single red source now. 2 white to play a Gawain, who is a double white. Gives all of his knights +2/+2. So that Lancelot is now an 8/8. That Hector is now a 6/6, and the Percival is now a 4/4. And he swings them with the 8 Lancelot. We're going to see him bowed. The new bow only has 2 counters because Arla is Astral. So he's going to use one of his 2 counters on that Lancelot and Demon Flame. So Lancelot will not make it through. Now we're going to see a swing in by Hector. Player has no choice but to block, because the Hector is the bigger of the 2. But he gets bowed in response, so he's going to be forced to take that 6. And finally swinging in with the 4. Then player finally passes turn. Being the Arla player, I really don't know how many moves you have at this point, but you do not want to just go down without a fight. You want to try to get as much damage on the board as you can, and maybe just pull the game out from under. Calling a stone. Has to use the Moonshade for one of them, but luckily has the Moonlight, so he does not have to pay more life than he has to. Paying 200, dropping himself to 14, to play Lancelot. And then a Guinevere with the other red. Doing what he can to get some Resonator presence on board. Checking out his opponent's field before swinging and coming in for 6. He takes it. I personally would have at least attacked a Resonator on board, trying to take out something. Even if he would have sacrificed his Percival to protect it. I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to choose to target the Hector, because he knows at this point he doesn't have much of a game if the Resonators stay on board. If so, they'll trade because they're both 6/6. And at first you thought he would just take out the Hector, but he forgot about Gawain's pump. And we're going to see a Percival sack to prevent the damage to Hector. But Lancelot will take the 6. And we'll see a pass turn. Grinding it out till the very end. hesitation on the part of the Blazer player. He was going to do something before draw. Now he decided to draw, and before recovery, he's going to throw in a Thunder. Now he will recover, calling a stone. Most likely calling red with the true red that he just flipped, because he does not have very many red sources. Now trying to figure out how he can get this last 9 damage in. Bit of calculation. He wants to not make a mistake at this point, although sitting at 29 life you could honestly probably make a mistake at this point, and the ruler, with both rulers dead, you're not going to necessarily lose, but I think he wants to try to go for it all in one swing. Get this game over with in this turn if he can. He's going to pay 2 and play a Lancelot. Swings with Lancelot first, because he has to. Personally, I would have used Gawain to attack, tap down the Guinevere, and then play your Lancelot, and then attack, so your 6 could go through with Lancelot, and then your 6 could go through with your Gawain, but he's just going to go ahead and accept game, and that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our Knights versus Regalia, and tune in next time for the next round of the match. I'm CocoKane from Tavern TCG, signing out.